What the fuck is wrong with my skin? Alright guys, here's my Dragonknight build in the ESO's update 1.6. In this video, I'll quickly show you my skills, gear, and attribute points. Make sure to pause if I'm moving too fast. So before getting into the details, here's a high-level description of my build and how I use it. So this is a small-scale PvP build which focuses on a balance between winning 1v1s as well as 1vx's. So a player's individual skill and playstyle is much more important than their gear, their skills, or their attribute points. While I'll be showing you my build in this video, the most important thing to note is how to use it. So your build must complement your playstyle. My playstyle is to outlast the opponent while slowly eating away at their health. Thus you can consider this a tank build, which is best used with a mindset of managing your own resources, not the mindset of killing the opponent. Trust me, if you make sure to prioritize resource management, you'll win your fights. So now for the details. I am an Imperial Dragonknight with 37 points in health and 25 points in stamina. I have 5 pieces of heavy armor and 2 pieces of light armor. My weapons are 2-hand as well as sword and board. On my sword and board weapon I use the stamina recovery enchant. On my 2-hand weapon I use the disease damage enchant. All my armor has stamina enchants on them, and my jewelry has stamina recovery enchants. My armor sets 5-piece Whitestrakes, 5-piece Warlock, 2-piece Malubeth. So now for my skills. On my sword and board bar I have Invasion. I like this morph because the stun duration is increased. Structured Entropy. I like this skill in general because it's a dot and a hot. I like the morph because it increases my max health. Unstable Flame. I like this morph because it scales off my stamina. Flame Lash. I like this morph because it allows me to proc a follow-up attack which costs 0 MP. And then Green Dragon Blood for obvious survivability reasons. And I usually have Werewolf on this bar. On my 2-hand bar I've got Stampede, which reduces their movement speed. I like this morph because I'm not always very far away from the opponent whenever I use it, and so I always get the effect of the slow, whereas I don't always get the effect of the damage boost from the other morph. Then I've got my Rock, which I like to throw at people's face because it knocks them down. I picked this morph because I like to throw it from further away. We've got Cleave. I like this morph because it gives me a damage shield, which is always nice for a sustainability build. Then I've got Spiky Armor. I like this one because for melee attackers, specifically people using dual wield, they hit me a lot, so this one reflects a lot of damage. This morph gives me a dot too, which is very nice. And then Executioner to give me that extra damage whenever I really need it. Then I've got Corrosive Armor because this shit is ridiculous for stamina builds. While active, your attacks ignore 100% of an enemy's armor. Okay! So there you have it. That's my build along with a brief description of how to use it. Next, I'll show you my build in action with some 1v1 and 1vx clips. Throughout these clips, I'll give you further details on why I use the skills I use and how I use them. I'll also throw some pro tips in there for you, so stay tuned. So like I mentioned before, what's more important than a build is the knowledge of how to use the character with that build. So I'll talk a little bit about my bars and why they're set up this way on a skill-by-skill basis. I like to have a gap closer on each one of my bars. This helps me be in the enemy's face at all times, applying constant pressure. Following the same mindset of my gap closers, I like to keep a knockdown on each one of my bars. CCs are super important in PvP, especially for my build, but also for any build in general. CCs are a good way to take your opponent out of the fight for a quick second, and they also are a good way to make your opponent waste their stamina whenever they try and break out of the CC. Make sure to watch for your opponent's CC immunity, whether they're blocking or they have a buff preventing you from CCing them. Whenever that CC immunity or that blocking ends, make sure you hit them with a CC. You can see I've got plenty of dots. These are what I rely on for my steady, constant DPS. Always keep your dots up. Right here is a perfect example of animation canceling. Unfortunately, I don't have my add-on up displaying my damage dealt, but if you watch closely you can see I damaged my target with 6 attacks in less than 2 seconds. I accomplished this by canceling my animations. I highly recommend that you learn how to cancel your animations. Check out my guide video for a detailed explanation on how to do it. It'll really take your DPS to the next level. You may have noticed from watching my fights that I only use whip whenever I have someone knocked down. If you have the Flame Lash morph, you have someone CC'd and you whip them, you proc a follow-up attack, which you can use and costs 0 MP, deals damage, and also heals you. Alright, quick break from the guide. You gotta hear this shit, it's cracking me up.
Alright, where was I? Alright, finishers. So I use Executioner as my finisher naturally because I use a two-hander. I might start messing around with Molten Weapons at 1.6 that was updated to increase your heavy attack damage by 40% for 7 seconds, so that might be pretty nice. If I were to do that, I would replace spiky armor with Molten Weapons. As far as healing goes, I use Entropy for a small heal over time. I use my Flame Lash follow-up attack for a small quick heal, and then I use Green Dragon Blood for a nice big heal. Probably the most significant tip I can offer you has to do with when to use Green Dragon Blood. If you read the tooltip carefully, you'll see that the healing from Green Dragon Blood is based off of the amount of health that you are missing. This one sentence has influenced my build significantly since I like to play to survive. Because the heal is based off of missing HP, I put a lot of points into health to increase the heal amount. I also use Whitestrakes armor set to get the most out of Green Dragon Blood. The Whitestrakes armor set automatically places a damage shield on you when your HP gets low. This helps me stay alive as I hold off until the last second until I use Green Dragon Blood. The longer you wait to use Green Dragon Blood, the better it will be, the more HP you'll get back. It's a risk-reward scenario. So this build's actually the same build that I've been using since beta, with only some small tweaks here and there. It's always served me well, but what I like most about it is that I don't see anyone else doing anything like this. Dragoknights have pretty much all had the exact same build for as long as I can remember. Pretty much all of them just have the identical build. I like to do something different personally, and so I specifically avoid the things that most DKs use: Talons, Reflect, Petrify, Resto Staff, things like that. The point I'd like to make with this build in this video is to show you guys that you don't need to follow a cookie cutter build to be successful. All you need to do is create your own unique build, practice with it, learn how to use it, get comfortable with your character, tweak it here and there, and then you'll do just fine. So you've actually been watching a sped up clip of a 10-minute 1vx, which is about to end when my character refuses to drink a potion. But anyway, this video is long enough, so I'd like to leave you guys with this. I challenge you to challenge my build. Criticize it, comment below on what you would do differently. Just keep in mind, an individual's skill level and playstyle are much more important than the build. So get out there and try something new in 1.6, guys.